The opening to Rings of Power Season 2 was so hated that many just gave up on the show after the first episode, despite the fact that Amazon did a 3-episode premiere. The ratings that are shown for the show dropped by nearly half on IMDb, showing that people really didn't watch past that first episode so much. We covered that yesterday in our video if you want to learn more on that. But now the creators are going out here and talking about their opening, and I think they have an ego problem. It looks like these creators really do think that they're geniuses, not that they're playing in Tolkien's world and actually trying to do honor to somebody else's genius. And I think that comes down to the problem in Hollywood today that we see with entitlement, with just a lack of talent, pretending like they're as good as creators that came before, their need to make things year zero to put their own stamp on properties. We know that George R.R. Martin talked about this a while back. He actually talked about Hollywood writers and disparaged exactly the changes that get made from the books, when the books are always like, that's where the real genius came from. And he was actually right. I don't love George R.R. Martin for a lot of things. I'm not a big Game of Thrones fan. I think it's just degenerate travesty myself. It's my opinion. But he was right about that 100%, and it is a problem in Hollywood today. So we'll get into this. We'll look at this interview with Hollywood Reporter that the showrunners gave, and we'll talk about how it just does not work with Tolkien's legacy. All right, my name's John Delarose, and I am a #1 best-selling fantasy author. This is my book for Steam and Country. You guys actually brought it back to #1 the other day on Amazon when you bought this book a bunch, when I was talking about Rings of Power. So this is not a Lord of the Rings allegory or anything close to it. It's my own fantasy world, something completely different. And I honestly think that's what they should have done with Rings of Power. They don't want to make a Tolkien show. They want to make their own show that gives Tolkien member berries with some of the naming things. But if they did something completely different and did something on their own, maybe it would work a little better. I don't know. At least with my writing, it does. So I've written a beautiful fantasy world. This is a 6-book series, and I would love for you to check this out. It's in the description below. You'll really love it. It builds up so great into an epic fantasy war and something that is just packs a huge punch. So thank you guys. Check out some good writing. It's in the description below, and all the books are available on audio as well, if that is your preferred method. Thank you so much for supporting us. Okay, so let's get into this. The Rings of Power returned for its second season on Thursday, opened with a 20-minute cold opening sequence filling in Sauron's journey from the First Age to the Second Age. Painful. It was insane. It didn't work with the show. It had just the wrong tone on every single level. Sauron was shown as like a tentacle monster at some point, tentacle shadows. I mean, it's like they went with every trope that just would not have been of what Tolkien wanted and just threw it in the kitchen sink, trying to make it work. So he was betrayed, brutally crowned by an orc leader. The poor orcs. They just want to immigrate to Middle-earth, my friends. They just want to work hard. Sauron's physical form was destroyed, and fans saw how the Dark Lord spent many, many years slowly recovering before being able to take human form. So a very slow start, absolutely crazy, and it's insane. Here's the showrunners. They were answering some questions about this ambitious sequence. And you see how they're trying to frame it as like they really just tried to do something arty here. Sorry about this. I'm boomering up things on the level here. So, what made doing this backstory appealing, and how long was this sequence? This is pretty interesting, and I'm seeing this a lot more. This is like writing 101 that you're not supposed to do as a writer. You're not supposed to just have 20 minutes of backstory to open a story. You're not supposed to throw that in there. There's a lesson called show, don't tell that everybody tells writers right away. It's like the first thing you're supposed to learn as an amateur. And you're not supposed to info dump a bunch of stuff about what happened in the past. You're supposed to slowly release that over the story. You're supposed to build interest in the character and what's happening now, because that's what the reader's invested in. The reader's getting the promise of what's happening now is going to make something in the future exciting. And create a character change or a world change. That is how you write. So when you do something like this, it's absolutely terrible writing on every single level. It is not brilliant, and this is what we're going to get into with their egos. They really think they're brilliant people that can ignore the rules of writing and ignore Tolkien's lore on top of it in order to make a Lord of the Rings show. It's ridiculous. But this is just a basic thing that really should have never happened, especially in a show with this big of a budget. Somebody there should be an editor to raise their hand and say, no, this is not okay. And it was much the same thing with The Acolyte. If you remember The Acolyte, if you watched that, I'm sorry. If you didn't, it was an 8-episode show, much like Rings of Power's first season was. And 2 of those episodes were full backstory shows. One of them was actually showing the real story of the backstory that was just reshoots of the first one. Now, if you have 2 full episodes of backstory on your show, that's 8 episodes. I mean, that's a quarter of the show is backstory. That's very boring. That gets viewers to tune out. It's bad writing 101. Again, it just wrecked the show. And they're doing the exact same thing here. That's why so many people tuned out after the first episode here. So what they say is this was originally a sequence we talked about doing in season 1. We talked about doing the cold open to episode 6 when Adar and Halbrand meet. They were going to give you this big backstory. Then we were like, this is going to end up feeling jammed in. Well, yeah, it feels jammed in now, too. It doesn't change just because you moved it to a different spot. I mean, honestly, we didn't feel like we had the space to do it in the terms we envisioned it. We got to talking and said, what about moving it to the top of season 2? So they moved their info dump to a season premiere. I mean, what a terrible idea. They shouldn't have done it. This shouldn't be a part of the show, period. It felt like an integral part of the story as soon as we put it in season 2, liberated us to tell it in the way we needed to be told, and it helps us by showing this animus between Sauron and Adar, which would change with the season going forward. It's also your chance to spend some time with Sauron in the story. In his head, he's the hero. He thinks he knows better than everybody. He's going to fix the world. And this is, again, this flies in the face of what Sauron is. Like, Sauron is evil. He's the devil. This is obvious. There's no good here. There's no, his motivation behind things. That is not what Lord of the Rings is about, and it's not really what epic fantasy is a genre about. Evil used to just be evil for the sake of it. And this modernism of trying to ascribe motivations, trying to make him sympathetic, trying to have a reason for him to be this, really doesn't work in storytelling. And it never, it can periodically, but these guys are not brilliant people who can make that work. They're not brilliant people who can actually change what Sauron is and make it better than what J.R.R. Tolkien crafted. This is egomania run amok. And it's the fact that they've just got a giant budget, they've got carte blanche to do what they want, and they've got nobody at Amazon who's overseeing them, who actually understands Tolkien, who actually respects Tolkien, or actually wants to do anything that actually would be good for the fans of the books. This is absolutely insane Hollywood hubris at its highest, and it's going to be crazy. If everybody did things the way I think they should be done, then everything will be great and we'd have peace. Well, how do you come to that point of view? How would he come to the level of arrogance? You want to talk about arrogance, that he knows better than anyone in the world. The answer is to go on this journey with him and see how he's been betrayed, how he suffered, how he sees himself as a visionary that he's grappling with. We love the idea that by the end of that 20 minutes, you might rewatch the season 1 in your head and have a whole new lens for what he was going through those story turns. So they really, honestly, these guys believe that they created this super deep epic. In reality, what they did was put some very nice window dressing. It's pretty. It's a pretty show. I'll give them that. With a very slow plot, which I don't even understand where it's going at this point still. And it's just like this meandering open world thing where you're just supposed to see this world. And that's very slow and it's very boring. And to have an hour and 15-minute episodes of this stuff is crazy. All this stuff could have been cut to 40 minutes if they just wanted to up the pace and make it a normal show. And I like that idea. Let's make a campaign to make shows 42 minutes again. I remember when dramas were 42 minutes, and they had to conform to that, and it was great. These people want to reject rules in the writing because they want to see themselves as visionaries, as they want to be Sauron, right? They want to recreate the world in their image. They want to recreate Tolkien in their image. It's evil, actually. And their hubris and their arrogance is what is the show's undoing. It's so ironic that they're saying this about Sauron, and they don't see that that's exactly what they're doing with the show on the writing level. It's so crazy when you look at this stuff and you look at the fan reactions, and it's getting worse. That these people think they can get away with this kind of thing. We love that by the end of the 20 minutes, you might rewatch season 1 and see a whole new lens. It was just that brilliant, guys. You just didn't understand it. And it's kind of talking down to the audience, too. You didn't understand our vision, right? That's exactly what's going on in this interview here, and it's insane. It really is. So if you look at this, I saw this post. This is a random X user, and I just thought this. I can't believe what I'm saying. This season 2 of Rings of Power is far better than the first. If you skip the half-foots, that's the halfling hobbit, people who are not hobbits. I'm actually enjoying it for what it is. And then look at this. Just ignore it's Lord of the Rings and just fan fiction, I guess. So again, like, these people don't want to make Lord of the Rings. Even the people who like it go, if you just ignore Lord of the, it's saying that it's Lord of the Rings, I guess it's okay. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, I mentioned yesterday that they were at 70% of the audience score for season 2 as it went on. But as more people have watched it, as more people have watched on, it's dropped to 64%. That's a pretty hefty drop for 24 hours. They were at 91% for the critic reviews, and of course, you go to top critics, it's down to 72%. That dropped down to 86% overnight as well. So it looks like people are rejecting this show slowly and rejecting this message. It's just hubris, it's just arrogance, and that's exactly the message I guess they wanted to convey, but they can't look in the log in their own eyes, and that seems to be the whole problem with the Rings of Power. All right. Hopefully that was good from a writing perspective, and you understand. Like I said, I do writing pretty well. I don't try to subvert expectations. I try to tell straightforward stories, and I think that's what's needed in modern society. I really think that modern fantasy has missed the mark, and I'm trying to do something different by bringing it back to the classics and what was good, because those guys really knew better. Like I said, this is not a Tolkien-esque book. It's very different, but I think you'll enjoy it anyway if you like fantasy. Put it in the description below, and please click on this. Grab the whole series. All 6 books really build up to something great. I appreciate you for the support and reading, and please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us. What do you think? Am I right about the Sauron arc shouldn't even be in the show? Leave a comment and let me know. I'll be back soon.